Chuck, I just want to ask you something.
Yeah.
You were out in California a week before last, and you're promoting 2 books. And I had a chance to read a blurb on one of the books, and I had no idea what trials and tribulations you've had to go through in life.
Well, I guess you would call them my glory days. These are the good old days, as our Carly Simon tells us. But yeah, I have 2 books coming out. One is called Full Armor, and the other one's called Quiet Toughness. The Full Armor book is one of it's a personal biography of a situation I went through in college. It actually started. The book starts out in my, as they call them, the concrete alleyways in Northeast Philadelphia, and it starts out with a friend of mine, and it kind of shows life in the city. And we were just coming, and I was 9 years old, and we were one of our first neighbors came home from the Vietnam War, and I remember that as clear as day. It was 1969 was such an amazing year when my hero Joe Namath won the Super Bowl. Well, I shouldn't say just Joe Namath, but the New York Jets and the Miracle Mets, and we put a guy on a moon, for crying out loud. I mean, that's pretty cool stuff. So that's kind of how it begins. And then I wanted to recognize my high school, Father Judge High School. We've for the size of the school, my understanding is we've had the most casualties in the Vietnam War, 27. And our coach at the time was Whitey Sullivan. And this is back in 1976. And Whitey was famous for giving great stories, inspirational stories that, man, if you played a tough game that night, you would want to run through that wall for him. That's how good he was. So I asked a bunch of people about speeches, and everyone had their own favorite speech. So we kind of tied them all together and did something in front of the monument one time. And it's just real special in the book. And people who've read it, our beta readers and such, they've enjoyed it. It talks about my years at Villanova, also at East Carolina once Villanova dropped football, and simply a love story that happens while I'm there, and I'm going through cancer treatments, and for the people that have read it have given me feedback. They're just in love with it. So I'm looking forward for it to come out on Amazon this weekend, actually.
Well, that's great, Chuck. And not only that, you made it to the pros. You were a college kicker in your freshman year, and you played in the USL. What was your longest kick that went through the uprights? That went through.
Oh, because otherwise it was like 70 yards, Lou. I've had a bunch of 49ers back then. You got to remember, back in those days, the kickers were Jan Stenerud and Garo Yepremi, and we were just coming of age. The straight-on kicker was being relieved of their duties mostly, and the soccer style, we didn't have it all figured out yet, but they knew that we were a little more accurate, and given the right circumstance, we could drive the ball a little bit further. So we became the mainstay, and you see that in the NFL now. So when people say, they quote that, hey, you were one of the top 10 kickers in the country, you played in the USFL, and I'm like, these guys today have got it down to a science where we were just kind of figuring it out.
Not only to have it down to a science, but they're millionaires. A friend of our family, their daughter is dating Will Lutz, who's the place kicker for the New Orleans Saints.
Yes.
He just signed a $20.5 million 4-year contract. Now, did yours come close to that?
I probably, no. To answer your question, no. I will tell you, I was real excited when I got my first paycheck. I was actually in the camp of the New Jersey Generals, and Doug Flutie was there, and Herschel Walker, and Herschel was just an incredible specimen.
And who owned that team?
Donald Trump. And I probably would have known more back then what I know now. I probably just would have kept the check and just had it for nostalgic reasons. But I've had a great career, playing with legends like Howie Long, who's in the NFL Hall of Fame, and great stories that went along. We'll get into that a little bit later. But guys like Reggie White, I mean, Herschel Walker and Brian Sipe. It's just and then guys in that league, Jim Kelly, Steve Young. It was the league, and they were coming about, and I'm not sure exactly. And I mean, there's historians that say why the league kind of fell off, but it was professional football at its best, and a lot of people love coming out in the spring as an alternative to baseball.